Hi, Sandra. I was wondering if you could just explain how, within our early years Niagara sector, how we came to these statements.
The 4 result statements.
The 4 result statements.
Right. So back in about 2010, we were tasked by the Early Years Niagara Planning Council to kind of give them an idea of what to do to move forward. Mm-hmm. We'd come out with our report, and it was kind of that point where we were at the so what, now what? How do we kind of take that report and move it into action, and almost kind of being tasked with coming up with a future work plan. And so the group met and we had some discussion about it, and the more we kept speaking about the idea of having these tasks, this work plan, the more we came to the conclusion that this group's been meeting for almost, well over 10 years. At that point it would have been 12. And how did we actually know we were making any kind of dent? And then we started talking about, well, it actually has to take a step even further back, because then it's, well, how would you measure that? And so what we came to the conclusion is we actually really needed to do some of that work in order to be able to move forward. And what we did was we took a look at the existing vision statement from Early Years Niagara Planning Council, as well as the Niagara Children's Charter. And we basically, in a nutshell, repackaged it so that we've took the 10 guiding principles in the vision statement and we kind of condensed it into those 4 result statements, being children are healthy, children are learning, children are safe, and families are strong, stable, and connected. So once we had that, we thought, okay, well, now we kind of need indicators in order to quantify those result statements. So now we looked at, well, we've got this report. There was over 200 indicators in it. So, how do you shortlist that? Because there's no way you could possibly have all of those indicators. So what we did is, once again, using results-based accountability, which we've used extensively in the past, we then took it through an exercise where we rated it on 3 variables. So we looked at its communication power, its proxy power, and its data power. And with regards to the communication power, we were looking at, and I use this analogy, if I'm going to take my proverbial soapbox and go into the town square and I'm going to stand on it and start speaking to this particular issue, is there a crowd that's actually going to gather and be engaged, because it also means something to them. Okay. The other piece of it being proxy power, and in this case what we were looking at is, in many instances, the age groups that we're looking at, being that 0 to 12 group, and in some instances 0 to 6, we don't have any data for those groups. And so we kind of say, well, data kind of runs in herds, so what data do we have? And I'll use the example of overweight and obesity. So we know that we don't have data consistently for children under the age of 18. It's unfortunate, but we don't. However, what we do have is a body of research that tells us that parents of children who are, parents who are overweight and obese, their likelihood of their children being so is that much greater. And so what we do is we use that data as a proxy measure in order to give us an idea of what it might look like for kids. And then the last piece of it would be the data power. So it's the quality of the data, the source of the data, the timeliness of the data. So taking those 3 variables, we then took those indicators and we essentially shortlisted it. And then we thought, okay, well, how do we know what to focus on? And that's where the community really comes in, and it's that piece, that important piece of getting that community buy-in, as well as lending them a voice. And so we thought of it from 2 different perspectives, is one of obviously being service providers, but another one is being able to give parents a voice. And so what we did was we created a parent online survey. And we essentially asked parents, what of these issues, what do you think from your perspective as a parent with a young child is, some of the most pressing issues here in Niagara for families with young children? And thinking, that they didn't really actually have data kind of to see, they just kind of went with experience. But on the flip side of that, we also had the community forum that we were going to be organizing in order to get input from those service providers. And so at the community forum, we presented them the data. So they actually got to see graphs with trend data and so on and so forth. And what we asked them were 2 questions. How important is this issue? And can we actually make a difference? And from that, we got them to be able to prioritize using clicker technology. And then what we were able to do is at that forum is show the results from the parent online survey and their results immediately. And we were very happy because it actually meshed. What the service providers were saying were pressing issues were matching what parents were actually telling us as well. And hence why you've got the 4 indicators that came up under each of those result statements. And then to further kind of inform that, because at that community forum, those service providers were able to go through what's called a turn the curve exercise to be able to kind of give us some ideas as to how to make a difference, maybe move forward and inform future work plans. We didn't get that from parents. So what we did was a follow-up parent survey online, and what we then asked them is 3 questions, but it was all, and I should back up and say it was also an opportunity to show them, here are the results from the first survey, and also to validate those results.
And how many surveys did you get?
The first online parent survey, we had over 1,100. The second one, it was just over 300. So we asked them at that point on the second online survey was to say, okay, here are the results. Now, if you could only pick 1 or 2 that you would ask Early Years Niagara Planning Council to concentrate on, which ones would it be? Why? And is there an issue that we have completely missed? That it's a glaring omission on our part. Happily, we didn't get anything saying that we had missed anything, but we did get some wonderful information from parents as to why they felt these issues were very pressing. And so that's when we were able to validate those indicators, and hence why we're able to move forward.
Thank you very much, Sandra. It's a wonderful explanation. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.